Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Hello and welcome to Phoenix Business Radio, broadcasting live from the Max 6 Conscious Workspace, and we're recently calling it the Entrepreneur Center here in Tempe, Arizona, where we help build businesses and connect you with the right people. And I am very excited to have and offer up a special episode today. We're calling it the Fresh Start and Big Ideas for 2021. And in order to have this conversation and looking forward to a great year after kind of a weird year, I've invited a few partners and overall incredible leaders. Please welcome co-host Brett Farmelo, CEO with Marketers. Hello, Brett.
Hey, what's going on?
So happy to have you. And Brett and I will be taking turns asking some questions of our guests today, in addition to having everybody, our listeners, get to know Brett and Marketers as well. They've made a great impact on behalf of several of the businesses that I work with, including my own right here at Business RadioX. Let's welcome as well to the conversation Thomas Barr, Executive Director with Local First Arizona. Hello, Thomas.
Hey there. Great to be here.
So glad you can make it. And Stephen Zylstra, President and CEO with Arizona Technology Council. Welcome, Stephen.
Always a pleasure to be with you, Karen. Thank you.
Absolutely. So let's have each of you start out, and I'll start off with Brett first, if you will. Please just tell us a little bit about yourself and the company or organization you represent, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, sounds good. So my name is Brett. I'm the CEO of Marketers. We're an SEO company for small business. And recently we launched a knowledge platform called Turkle, and Turkle creates community-driven content featuring expert insights. So earlier on in 2020, we wanted to give voice to small businesses, and we created this community where we posed questions from a variety of partners. We collected insights, answering those questions, and formulated them into articles. So now we've got a community with more than 1,000 people offering up answers to some of the pertinent questions that we all have for today's environment.
How does that benefit the business owner or the leader? I mean, I get it from Marketers' perspective, and I certainly get it from Business RadioX because we use the platform and we're doing some other things. But for those professionals that are listening, why would they want to be part of Turkle?
Yeah, building credibility, building thought leadership is one of the most difficult things to do as a small business. And this essentially gives you one platform where you share your insights, and you have an opportunity to be published on over 50 different partner sites.
That's plenty, right? Yeah, good.
Including Business Radio.
Yes. And I mentioned earlier when we were kind of in the green room waiting to go live, I know Conscious Capitalism has partnered with you. They, of course, are a big part of what we do here at the studio and work very closely with them. They do their show with us, People in Profit. And the Tempe Chamber of Commerce as well. Are there a couple of other organizations that are using your platform similar, different from Turkle, but similar like I am?
Yeah, for sure. Have a long list. GoDaddy, Calendly, Keep here in Phoenix. So University of Arizona, Eller College Management. So yeah, we've got some really cool partners, and it's pretty exciting.
Awesome. So now, Stephen and Thomas, you see why I wanted him to come on board and get to know you too. Yeah, for sure. Thomas, would love to hear from you. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what your role at Local First Arizona and what you guys do there.
Yeah, thanks again for having me, Karen. Always a pleasure. I'm Thomas. I am the Executive Director of Local First Arizona. I've been with the organization for 7.5 years of our 18-year run. We were founded by Kimber Lanning back in 2003 and are the largest local business coalition in the country. So we oversee we help support around 3,000 small businesses across the state and take a collaborative relationship-based approach to providing a voice for them and resources for them while building a more inclusive and diverse economy throughout the state. So really my focus is connecting with people, making sure that we're delivering the best service we can for the very wide variety of small businesses that exist. And, given the current state of the world, it's different every day. So looking forward to the conversation.
Thanks, Thomas. And Stephen, how about you?
So I'm Steve Zylstra, President and CEO of both the Arizona Technology Council and the SciTech Institute, which is housed there right with you, Karen. The Tech Council's been around in one form or fashion since about 1985. Became the Arizona Technology Council in 2002. We're a statewide organization. We have offices in both Phoenix and Tucson. We're essentially a technology business trade association. So we do all the things that, say, a Chamber of Commerce would do, but focus exclusively on tech-based companies. We do public policy advocacy on behalf of the tech sector. Pre-COVID, we did 160 physical face-to-face events a year. We have a number of publications. We do TechCast with you. We have another podcast called Tech Focus. TechCast sort of focuses on technology topics, and Tech Focus is on technology leaders. We have a magazine. The newest issue just came out. It's called Tech Connect. The latest version is focused on the future of transportation. So all about electric vehicles and autonomous vehicles and that kind of thing. We also have a monthly newsletter called Tech Talk. We also negotiate lower cost products and services on behalf of our members. So we run an association health plan. Our members can get their medical, dental, vision, life, disability, HSA through us. We run a 401k program. It's a multiple employer plan. So they can, even if they have 3 employees, you can provide a 401k for your employees, helps you attract the best quality employees, and many other discounted products and services. The SciTech Institute is focused exclusively on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. We run the statewide SciTech Festival. We run a program called the Chief Science Officers. We run the Middle School and High School Science Bowl, and something called the Counting Bee, which we do with Scott Flansburgh, who is Guinness World Book of Records for calculating things in his head. He was on Revis Philbin's show eons ago, and he called him the human calculator. So that's how he goes by. So it's fun working with Scott. So you could see the connection between the two entities, working on developing the front end of the funnel, if you will, or the pipeline of talent to feed into the technology sector, which is growing here precipitously in Arizona.
That's awesome. Thanks for the intros. And I think as what's unique about this show is here we are sitting here early December. I think all of us are ready to turn the page on 2020 and look ahead to the new year. So I'd love to start the conversation here by just saying, hey, what are you looking forward to for your organization, your team in 2021? And Thomas, I'd love to start with local first. What's on tap for you guys?
Yeah, well, there's a lot. And, this year has really just provided an opportunity for us to hone into our strengths. As we all saw this huge need in the spring for supporting our most vulnerable small businesses. One of the things that I've also seen is there's a lot of new ventures kind of creeping into the space of we've got the best solution for small businesses kind of thing. It's kind of interesting. And some of them are super genuine. Some of them are not, though. But the market for helping small businesses is getting a little crowded. Those that I've seen, including us, I would say, continue to be successful in the space is just stay focused on the trust and the relationships that are the core of helping. And, the rest kind of comes along with it. So, with the, pandemic and the, the reckoning of social justice that we've all experienced this year, we're going to be doing a lot of exciting things next year. One of the, I think, most exciting things is in January. So for the past 7 years, we've successfully facilitated a accelerator program called Fuerza Local for Spanish-speaking businesses. to help them not only build a plan for their business, but also get access to many of them their first ever credit score and fair loans, rather than being preyed upon by check cashing and payday lenders. So we've actually taken over 650 entrepreneurs through that program, many of them entering the program being offered percentage rates of upwards to 45%, graduating from the program with loans being offered at 6, 7, 8%. So while we've been really successful having that program in the Latino community, we're launching our first cohort of our Black Business Accelerator program called We Rise, which there will be 12 individuals launching in January in that new program. So we're really excited about that. Have a really smart, intuitive, accomplished woman running that program. And that's what we're going to be kicking off 2021 with. So we'll see what we do after that. So we're coming in with a splash.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think the announcement for We Rise is what, in a few days, December 7th, is that right?
Maybe. There's so much going on, I don't even know. No, so we recently closed the application, so I'd expect that we'll be announcing soon. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. And Steve, what about you? What's on tap for 2021? It sounds like there's so much stuff that you guys were doing, events and all of this. Looking ahead, what's on tap for you guys?
Well, first looking backwards, there's some irony in what happened in 2020. I can remember 10 years ago and 5 years ago being involved with organizations that are doing their long-term planning, and everyone had a 2020 vision, right? Because it had to do with, being able to see perfectly. And then, 2020's ended up being pretty much a flop in every way you could possibly imagine. So I think we're all excited to get to 2021, right? To put a lot of this stuff behind us, the whole election and everything related to that. We hear now we're going to have vaccines in the state by mid-December and, start giving people vaccinations. So hopefully by sometime in 2021, COVID will start looking in our rearview mirror. We'll see COVID. And, we're excited about that. So, we're planning for different scenarios for 2021. We're pretty much predicting that we're going to be doing virtual events through at least the first quarter, could be through the second quarter. So we're doing sort of scenario planning. And, in an organization that generates a lot of its revenue on events, this has been a pretty traumatic experience for us. And, while you don't generate nearly as much revenue from an event that you do virtually, your costs are also lower, right? You're not buying lunch, you're not paying for the space. So it sort of changes your business model a little bit. So we're trying to plan for that in 2021 and do it in sort of a scenario planning way. We're excited about our public policy agenda. We just released our 2021 public policy guide. And one of the things that's focused on the small business community is the angel investment tax credit. It's due to sunset on June 30, 2021. We were this close to getting it over the finish line in the last legislative session when the COVID curtain came down on the legislature. So you always try and do it ahead of when it's going to sunset. But, this year it's going to be vital that we get that piece of legislation passed. This supports early stage startups. And if I'm an investor and you're an entrepreneur, which you are, and I invest in your enterprise, I get up to a 35% tax credit, state tax credit. So it mitigates the risk right out of the gate. And it's been phenomenally successful over its history, but it's due to sunset. So we're going to be focusing on getting that renewed for 10 years, by the way. That's our goal. We're also going to be working on trying to identify funding for building STEM ecosystems across the state. I said the SciTech Institute focuses exclusively on STEM. We've got this growing technology industry here in Arizona, and what they need more than anything else is talent. And so we need to really work on building that talent pipeline from the very earliest age. That's what some of our programs do, and that's what this legislation would do. So we'll be doing that. Again, we're going to either be doing our major events in a virtual fashion, depending on COVID, or a face-to-face fashion. I think people are really eager to get back and connect socially with each other. We hear that from our members. So we're excited about the prospect of that first face-to-face event in 2021. I'm pretty sure that's when it will happen, unless something else crazy happens. But those are just a few of the things that we're planning for 2021. We're excited about having sort of the clean sheet of paper and being able to innovate as we move through the next year.
Definitely getting all together in 2021. And thanks for the shout out with the angel investment tax credit. The accountant in me is going to be counting down till June 30th and throwing that out there. That's a good insight. What about, so with Local First Arizona, I think one of the cool things to keep tabs on is all the success stories, and definitely with 2020, the innovation and the creativity that a lot of small businesses display. And Thomas, I was wondering if you could speak to any members, any sponsors, anyone who's been innovating in 2020 and kind of what they also have in store for the upcoming year.
Yeah, it's been, across the board, super interesting to, first of all, see who transitioned really quickly to take advantage of things that were needed right away. Like, I don't know if everybody saw the number of distilleries that had transitioned like in a week to making hand sanitizer, not only to sell to consumers, but to get to the hospitals. I thought that was really cool. And then to see businesses move from panic and anxiety to thoughtfulness behind what markets they might be pitching to or products they might be delivering was what we saw across the board. Printing companies, March 20th were like, I'm out of business, but then realized, there's going to be a big need for banners, stay 6 feet away signage, plexiglass, face masks, etc. And those that moved into the space, were able to make up for the loss of revenue from special events and in-person things happening and mailers and all that kind of stuff. I it's hard to pick just one, but what I tell people is that while yes, it's been devastating to see and experience a lot of businesses dealing with hardships. I mean, entrepreneurs are the most hardworking, adaptive people that exist. That's what they do, is they constantly adapt. And this year they were just forced to adapt in a very, very fast, strong way. So whether that was, the brick and mortars or the in-person or the professional services, I think everyone was needing to figure out a different way to do business. I'm trying really hard not to say pivot. I don't know if you can.
We're all trying not to say
I'm
pivot.
just like, recalibrate. Like I'm trying to make up new words. I had a phone call with a couple businesses this week, and they were just like, love what you guys are doing. Super open to some help. Just please don't say the word pivot.
Yeah, I think we've all heard that more times than we want. Only word we've heard more is COVID.
Yeah,
Definitely.
for sure.
Definitely. What about you, Steve? I know that you guys work with such a wide variety of technology companies, large, small. Any good stories from you?
I have a bunch of great stories. I am so proud of the tech industry and their reaction and resilience in this environment. First of all, one thing to mention is the Tech Council, along with an organization called Strut refurbishes laptop computers, and we've had a strategic relationship with them for some time. The Tech Council did a campaign to get people to donate their laptops, and then Strut would refurbish them and get them to the various schools. I think the Phoenix Chamber had a similar initiative. And, we were able to get our members to participate in that in a big way. And I don't know if you know, but 100,000 school children in Arizona out of a roughly million did not have either the devices or the internet service to be able to be educated from home. So part of it was, no computer at home. Other part of it was no broadband service, particularly in the rural area. So that's what that was addressing. We had another example where Iron Mountain, which is one of our members, it's a data center, donated 100 brand new laptops to schools that the SciTech Institute identified were to students in schools where they were really in need. Honeywell hired 500 people and set up a line to produce PPE. None of us probably knew what PPE meant before the pandemic, right? But it became the word for a while. And so Honeywell did that. Both onsemi and Intel donated masks and bunny suits and so on from their inventory. We had a member in Tucson, Universal Avionics, that made half of its manufacturing facility available for producing PPE. Another company, you spoke to this earlier, member company called Analyze Inc. switched to making hand sanitizer. And then finally, the Arizona Commerce Authority. Thomas, you made this point about there's a lot of people operating in the very small business space now. The ACA developed a number of programs to support small businesses. And I think they've put on like 60 or so events for small business since the beginning of the pandemic. So an ACA is that's the Arizona Commerce Authority, a very strategic partner of the Tech Council. We work hand in hand, as we have over the years with Local First. And I love what Kimber's done with this organization and the team she's hired. It's all about culture and really being passionate about small business. And so we're proud of what Local First has done too, particularly your reaction in this environment.
It's been amazing to watch both of your organizations. I've had, obviously, the fortunate opportunity to help produce shows and even co-host the one with Stephen throughout the pandemic and before. And these sorts of stories that you're both sharing are so inspiring. And really, that's what we do on Business RadioX. We want to make sure that we're giving everybody an opportunity and a platform to talk about their journey, the success, as well as the pitfalls, but really to give inspiration to business owners and executive leaders when we start to feel like, can I really do this? or equally important, let me meet and connect with the right people. So I'm very pleased that you're acknowledging and looking to both organizations for those acknowledgments. Why right now is it more important than ever for people to get involved in your organizations? I would love to hear from both of you on that. I know most of our listeners likely might be familiar with one or both organizations, but what is the benefit of being part of your organization, and of course, why now?
I'm happy to start. Well, first of all, I think we're all working from home. We're socially disconnected. And what a trade association is all about is bringing people together and connecting people and the networking involved and, the value add that comes from that. So, we've been trying to replicate the kinds of things that you can do face-to-face virtually. We had a networking event last night. It was our 9th one. Since the pandemic started virtual. And, we've had anywhere from about 160 to probably 60 people in those. And people love them because they're getting to know people that they've never met before. We break into smaller groups and people get to know each other. We usually do about 5 breakouts and different subject areas and so on. So it's a way to keep our members connected in a time where they can't physically connect. And, I think a trade association or a chamber is, we exist for one reason, and that's to help our members succeed at what they do. So whether that the companies are going like this or going like that, we need to provide the programming and services that are necessary, to support their organization. We, like many other folks, built a COVID resource page on our website to connect people to a lot of the resources that are available. But we're continuing to do, like I said, pre-COVID, we did 160 events a year. We're not eliminating those programs. We're just doing them virtually. It's more of a challenge, but it is bringing people together. It's allowing them to be educated and informed about topical issues that are important to address some of the things they're experiencing early on. We did a lot of programming around COVID, right? There were, like Thomas said earlier on small business, everybody was in the COVID game for a while. So, that's sort of petered out a little bit. And I can't think of a more important time to stay connected with your fellow business leaders, business owners than now.
So true. So true. Yeah, I think similar but different. So I think that businesses right now need to find what works and really focus on what they can control, because there's continues to be things outside of our control. Coming out of this pandemic is for the most part not. We're on the virus's timeline and the vaccinations timeline at this point, not our own. And so all we can do is really hone into what's in front of us that we can focus on. And one of those things is, and probably the most important thing, is relationships. So what we've started doing at Local First Arizona is, when things hit pretty swiftly in the spring, we knew, and we put on many events, just like the Tech Council. Our fall festival has 30,000 people, not happening. Even, the Devour Culinary Classic that happened 2 weeks before we shut down, which we were like, whew, we got away with that, not happening 2021. Who even knows, fall 2021. So what are we going to be doing? What is our focus going to be? We were putting on, upwards to 7 events a month. And so we said, instead of focusing on events, let's just focus on the people in our network. And so we actually put our team through an internal training on how to provide proper assessments to businesses and better consult with them so that we could fast track resources more swiftly to them. So rather than spending more time on planning and facilitating events, we actually helped train our team, which, from my observation at this point, there's a handful of them that are now experts in assessing the needs of businesses. And I'm just super proud of them because they've stepped up in ways that I didn't know that they even had in them until this thing came. And they're, consulting with businesses every day, walking them through scenarios, connecting them to partners, getting them resources, even just going on their websites and providing audits and providing recommendations. Hey, have you ever thought about this? Did you know this was available? And so that's really been able to help us to build and deliver an experience that's, I think, been really meaningful to the members of Local First this year. And so if the question is why join, it's because that's the level that we care. We are committed to doing whatever's needed at this moment in time to make sure that businesses return and get through this the best way they can. So I think coming into 2021, you'll see more of that. Again, we don't know everything that's coming. I'm telling businesses you still need a 1-year game plan. I don't care if the vaccine drops tomorrow. You need a year until things might be a little normal again. So, and then even then, we don't know, what's that rush of, there might not even be a rush of people coming back with money in their pockets ready to spend. So how are you going to prepare for, being maximum capacity, but still only having 70% of people out in your restaurant, things like that. So we made it our job to look 6 months down the road. what is going to be needed, what do you need to be thinking about, and what resource needs to become available. So one of the things we did in April was we were brainstorming every day. We were having meetings with our directors saying, what's going on? What are you seeing? Not only locally, but we were like, sign up for newsletters on the East Coast. Get information about what's going on in New York and Chicago and in DC and in Low Country, in Michigan and San Diego. Like, let's get all the information. Let's take it all in. What we realized really quickly, we did a couple of things. We saw a marketing report that showed how people were spending their time online. And number one was planning vacations. And I think out of 20th was webinars. Out of everything. And everyone's planning webinars. So it's like, let's stop like shoving webinars down everybody's throat. And like, let's actually think of ways that businesses might, think creatively about how they can help people think about the times to come and market themselves for the times to come. And so we got a lot of businesses thinking that way. The second thing we did is we saw that more people were buying online than ever before. And so we said, okay, if small businesses aren't in the space, if those artists, if those crafters, if those boutiques, if those festivals aren't happening in the fall, what's going to happen to all those businesses? Because again, it's not like we can just appear in 2021 and everything be back to normal. So we invested a lot of time and resources and energy into building an e-commerce site for Arizona small businesses. We call it Shop Arizona. We launched it last week. It's got about 75 vendors on it, and it's growing every day. It's really just a place that small businesses can stay competitive online, rather than just doing all your shopping at the Amazons of the world and the big boxes of the world online, which have the marketing. They're going to be okay. Right. This is really a lifeline to help small businesses sell their items. So it's really just been heartwarming. And just in the first week to hear businesses say, I got a sale. So you're going to see more of those types of things come from local first.
Can I pile on there with something I didn't mention? In many ways, the tech sector was unique in this COVID environment. We do something called the Arizona Technology Industry Impact Report, and it's published every quarter. It's the number of companies, the number of jobs, average wages, all the metrics associated with the tech ecosystem, R&D investment, patents, everything. The tech industry in Arizona has grown throughout the pandemic. First, a very large percentage of our members are actually manufacturers. So they were considered essential businesses and they just, kept producing. And then, a large cohort of our membership are in the IT and cyberspace as well. And I won't use the word pivot, but those companies were able to very quickly move to a work from home environment before anyone else, right? Because they were equipped to do that. So the tech industry is the least affected industry throughout the pandemic. And it's important to our economy because the tech industry produces the highest paying, highest quality jobs as well. Now, those jobs may not pay what entrepreneurs generate on their own for themselves and their family, but it's a critical part of our economy and a growing part of our economy. So the general business community suffered much more than the tech sector.
Obviously, Local First works with, as you said, a variety of industries and businesses, big and small. I know one of the things that came out of watching the way that you guys worked was the relationships that you had already had with local banks and credit unions, but really how those folks rose to the occasion on behalf of the confusion around, all the loans and everything. Do you want to speak to that at all? Or for me, it was simply just worth mentioning the beautiful alignment and the way that those folks really rose to the occasion as well.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So one of the things, in retrospect, as I look back, that we were talking about as everything was happening was we felt like the world was really getting a glimpse into what's always been happening, but just in this state of a pandemic, which is, we've known for a long time that community banks have always stepped up for small businesses, that they're better for the community, that they create relationships with small businesses, they're more likely to lend to them. And so as we were in the panic of the first round of PPP, and we've all heard the horror stories of the Potbellies and the Los Angeles Lakers getting PPP loans, a lot of our small businesses were really, really frustrated. And, I was talking to businesses who were, 18 years had accounts with some of these large banks, and in the blink of an eye were turned into a number. Not because maybe the representative they had worked with that long didn't care, but it's just the structure. It's just the infrastructure of how it works. They were literally just in line. And what we saw from the community banks is they were just like, let's do this. Their whole teams, their whole staff went, they were working nights, weekends, doing whatever they could, intaking as many new businesses as they possibly could. Those businesses that had been with the big banks for so long were, who do you know? Like, can I talk to? And they got to understand for real time what we've been saying for so long, which is the community banks will stand up for you, they'll stick up for you, they'll be there for you. So, at the end of the day, we look at the total numbers across the country, and while the larger banks hold the majority of our assets, the regional and community banks gave out 62% of PPP loans to small businesses. Not just because that's how the government knew how to put the money through. They did that because they knew that the community banks had the relationships with the small businesses to actually do it. So yeah, it was eye-opening, I think, to a lot of people about, hey, okay, I care about small businesses and everything that's going on right now. My money's in X bank that's got hundreds of billions of dollars, and they didn't help my coffee shop down the street. Maybe I should think about where I'm depositing my money. So we were able to really utilize those stories to help convince a lot of people to consider where they're depositing their money, which is really, really important.
Hey, Thomas, that just brings up that painful stretch of 2020 that I think until you talked about it, I totally just put it I forgot all about that. And it's funny that you mentioned that because went from a marketing guy to a PPP loan consultant for a lot of the small businesses that we work with, and I think that you guys probably did something similar to that. And it's just during that time, you had to really step up from a leadership capacity in so many different ways. And I'm curious for both of you guys, how your leadership responsibilities, philosophies really just changed and were shaped by 2020. And either you guys could jump in to talk about how you transformed as a leader this year.
I'm glad you stated it the way you did, because there were many influences in 2020. We've only talked about COVID, but there was the Black Lives Matter movement, and an upswell of support for social justice and to rid ourselves of bigotry and prejudice and racism and so on. And in my lifetime, I have never seen the level of true support for really changing things. And I think it's affected all of us in a profound way. Fortunately for us, I think it's been 3 years now, we created something called the Tech Inclusion Forum. So we've been addressing these issues for a number of years, but there's so much to do. We're, just by example, we just got out our 2021 public policy guide. We wove throughout our policy documents for 2021, addressing these issues of diversity and inclusion. And public policy is a very powerful place to do that, right? So that's been important to us. It's affected our programming. So I as I mentioned early on, we're all doing some sort of COVID programming, but, I tried to step up as a leader on behalf of my industry to say, this is really the time. This is a unique opportunity in the history of this nation and in our lifetime to do something that really matters. And so we have a group of leaders that we addressed this at our last board meeting. We have a group of leaders that are working to become better educated. We have folks from Intel coming in to talk about what they've been doing, and they've been a leader in that area for a very long time. So I think there were a whole range of impacts on leaders this year. In addition to that, the economic environment that we're operating with, right? I haven't laid any off, but everybody's been concerned whether I was going to lay anybody off, right? Because everyone knows our revenues have been drastically impacted. So we had to manage the business in a whole new way than what we had in the past. So I think there's a whole range of leadership requirements that arose as a result of the very unique things that were happening in our environment in 2020. I didn't even mention the craziness of the election and everything related to that. I mean, it's been a really challenging year for everyone. And I think leaders especially, because at the end of the day, a lot of that burden is on their back, right? Those business owners, they have employees, and they all have families, and so I think it's been a test, and some people really have rose to the occasion and done really well, and maybe better than they've ever done. Others not so much. So that would be my input.
This is an awesome 2020 recap show. Thanks for that rundown. That was pretty good right there. Thomas, I just wanted to go to you. Any other thing that you want to add on top of that in terms of leadership? Because I know that you've probably had to step up in so many different ways. I could just feel the impact of 3,000 Arizona small businesses coming to you for insights and answers.
Not sure how I want to even answer it. When people talk about things like work-life balance and why I do this, I don't see another option. It's hard to talk about a work-life balance because this is my life. This is who I am, and this is what I do. And when I saw and heard and received, I believe the first day of the closures, or it was around, I think it was St. Patrick's Day, getting 40 voicemails of businesses and just panic, tears, not knowing what was going to happen. There was no choice. This was who we are as an organization. This is what we do. So we did a lot of things, and I say we because I very, very importantly do not think that I myself am responsible for the work that we've done. It really was our collective group and our team. One of the things Kimber and I did, though, first was we had a team member ask us in early March, what are we going to do about the coronavirus? And if you remember early March, nobody in Arizona really cared. It was like, yeah, nothing. But we sat down, we said, okay, let's actually listen to our team right now. So I just went online and we started looking around. And at that time, it had really started to spike in Seattle. But we were still, Americans, this can never happen to me, kind of attitude in Arizona, I think. I said, if that happens here and we're trying to transition to work from home, we're going to be in the worst place possible, because we're going to have businesses from across the state that we've never heard of calling us saying, what do I do? So we transitioned home early, just in case. So about a week before the actual shutdown, we moved everybody home. Got them desks, got them internet, got them, all the collateral they needed. Had a few employees stop by the office and grab some extra toilet paper because it was all gone from the grocery stores, just to make sure everybody would be all right. And as you had it, March 17th, I remember the lockdown went in order, the shutdown went in order for the schools and everyone, and we were in place and we were ready to go. And that was really important because our team needed to be in a safe space to be able to deliver. And what we did from there is for I think it was about 20 days with our directors, had an hour-long call every night to talk about what was going on and what was needed next in real time. And after about 20 days, we had initiated our Small Business Relief Fund, which raised $2.5 million to give out in grants to businesses. We had pivoted everything, from events to consulting. We had got on the line with the governor's office and advocated for the emergency injury disaster loans to be released. He ended up inviting us to the press conference to announce that they were formally requesting the funds. And from there, it was just like Local First was in a leadership role. People were reaching out to us that we'd never heard of before. Who's that lady I saw on TV talking about loans? A lot. And so, but we were ready and we had to be. And so for that first, I would say 45 days, I was just incredibly proud of what our team delivered and continues to deliver. But it really, we were able to hone into our strengths and what we were really meant to do. It was like, it was the time that you can't prepare for, but that came, and the team showed up. So I was just really proud to be a part of that, and motivate the team to stick with it as we saw it through the summer.
What I love so much about spending time with each of you is that I know who you are as human beings, leaders, and just members of this incredible business community that we have in Arizona. The question that I have kind of related to that is, ho do you think that compassion and empathy are common themes for business leaders? Is or because I know that's who you all are, but do you see that throughout the organizations and businesses that you work with and represent?
I would say that that was a topic at our CEO retreat this year, which rather than having it in August, we had it in October, and I didn't know how that would go over, but people just loved that part of the programming, and I see an evolution of that occurring. From I'm older than the rest of you on this call, and have sort of watched the transition over decades now of how folks have become more compassionate and more empathetic to their employees, to their customers, their clients that they serve. They seem better connected. And it's not across the board, but it's sort of an evolutionary trend that's happening over time. Just like things like environmentalism, right? In the 60s, you were a left-wing wacko, and today it's just common practice, right? We've got to address climate change and global warming, and science is taking the day. So I think it is happening. It's slow but sure. It's like culture change is always hard, and that's what we're talking about. And I think the other thing is that there's a whole new cohort of students coming through the pipeline that have different attitudes, and I can see the stark differences between my generation and my kids, and on a whole bunch of subjects like this. And it gives me great hope for the future of this state and this country, because I think they're on the right track.
I wholeheartedly agree. I'm, as you all know, I'm someone who leads with all heart and, and have often kind of struggled to find my place in the business world or in the leadership roles that I've had because that's been such an important piece and aspect. And Thomas, you alluded to it, right? Your role in your job is you. Like that's who you are. And more, I think we are all that. We run with and play with and work with the same people. And more people, I think, particularly this year, are willing to kind of show that authentic self and be willing to say, hey, here's the reality of what's going on for me and my family and my business. And it's okay because we're all human. And that's, I believe, where compassion and empathy certainly can play in. We all can look across the table a little differently now because of all the things we've been experiencing this year and go, I got you. In some way, I think I can relate where in the past, I don't know that we've always been giving everybody that same level of grace. Thomas or Brett, anything to add to this question around empathy and compassion before we wrap up? Any thoughts?
I don't think so. Very well said.
I was going to say the same, and I also just wanted to thank both Stephen and Thomas on just such insightful responses to some of these questions today. It's such a good way to wrap up 2020, hearing about some of the experiences, perspectives that you guys have had. So thank you for sharing it with us today.
And Thomas, we're going to have together because we haven't got together. And
Yes.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
So on our way out, I would love for all three of you, Brett included as our co-host, to share if there's one last thing that Arizona business community needs to know that I haven't thought to ask, or Brett or I haven't thought to ask. Anything else before we head out? And again, it's been a beautiful recap, as Brett put, and obviously forecasting into 2021. Go ahead, Steve.
just something really quick. I this next level of question that we're poised to pass some legislation that is designed to protect small businesses. As you probably know, there are a lot of businesses are concerned about liability as it relates to COVID and protecting their employees and so forth. And I think all businesses must conform requirements. They also have to have some level of protection because we have a litigious world, unfortunately, and people like to sue. And I think it's going to be critical for the business community to have some level of protection from massive number of lawsuits. And I think the legislature is poised to do something this next session.
Thomas, how would you like to close?
I'm not sure if there's anything else to add. Hang in there. We got a ways to go.
Yeah. And for our listeners, really, these are folks that you can lean on, you can inquire about. If you're not currently a member, I strongly encourage you to reach out to both Arizona Technology Council and Local First Arizona and get connected. Just see if it's a good fit, right? That's what we've always got to do. Just put ourselves out there. And after today's conversation, hope you realize and can acknowledge the level of support that these organizations really hold for you. And Brett, let's have you ask that same question. Is there anything else you'd like our listeners to know? Your role, obviously, I believe, is so important for businesses now more than ever because so much of us are putting ourselves out there digitally. But what would you like our listeners to know that I haven't thought to ask you or invite into the conversation today?
Yeah, I think we covered so much. I think that what Thomas mentioned about the Shop Arizona and building online visibility is so important for a lot of businesses. So doing that, and then just thanking the people who have been with you in 2020, like all of the team members that have worked from home and sacrificed and done so much. I think it's just so important to say thank you to all the people who have been a part of it.
That's the most important point yet, right? Because we all rely on others to get done, to realize the vision of our organization. So that's the most important point.
I couldn't agree more. Gratitude and acknowledgement, especially when things feel clunky or crunchy or we're uncertain or unsure. I found that the moment I shift to gratitude and start looking for the things that I'm grateful for and the people who've supported me and my business along the way makes all every bit of difference. So thank you again. I sure appreciate all of you being here today. Again, this has been a special edition of Phoenix Business Radio, a fresh start and big idea segment looking at 2021. You've been listening to Phoenix Business Radio, broadcasting live from Mac 6 Conscious Workspace right here in Tempe, Arizona. Some media leans left, some lean right, and we lean business. Until next time, I'm Karen Nowicki. Thanks for listening.